the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt is no doubt a horror show, but it's not like scary horror. It's mostly fun horror with a few key exceptions. Like a lot of the times I watch a Tales from the Crypt episode and it can be spooky, but it's mostly just enjoyable. Half the time it's a full-on comedy. And on that subject, by nature, Tales from the Crypt is a show that has to make the most of its lead because it's usually some name actor as well as its supporting cast. The entire gimmick of this show is getting a name and centering a story around that name and making a character that that actor is meant to play. And when it comes down to top billing, I truly think the character of Barry was meant for Jon Lovitz. To understand this, we gotta kind of look at Jon Lovitz's career trajectory at this point, because he's a very interesting actor in general when you look at the trajectory of his career. He was one of the breakout stars of Saturday Night Live during one of the worst eras of the show. Not to go too much into an SNL video, but after Eddie Murphy left the cast, SNL's stock started to kind of deplete. They tried to pivot into a different creative direction that didn't end up working. And then the season 11 finale had all the cast members trapped in a burning building, with Lorne Michaels coming in and specifically saving Jon Lovitz, therefore making it very obvious that Jon Lovitz would be the only cast member carried into the new season.
What are you doing? I gotta wave goodbye.
Don't ask any questions, John. Just go downstairs to my limousine and wait for me there.
Jon Lovitz, as a result, would end up being the only cast member from the weird experimental year of SNL to transition into the weird restructuring era that took place before the era that many consider to be the best in the show's history besides the original years. Jon Lovitz initially left SNL before its 1990 to 1991 season to pursue a film career. He was getting offers and they were pretty lucrative. He did actually want to stay on the show, apparently, but it just didn't work with the scheduling. You have to remember, some of the younger viewers might not realize this, but Saturday Night Live used to actually be a jumping off point for a comedic actor's career. It wasn't just a lifelong job because you're not funny enough to get hired anywhere else and because most of your movies failed. Plenty of best of all time comedic actors got their start on Saturday Night Live, and many of these comedic actors went on to have very lucrative film careers with plenty of movies in which they were the lead. Somebody had the idea that Jon Lovitz could have been a Bill Murray or a Chevy Chase or a Dan Aykroyd or an Eddie Murphy. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. He had the lead in a few comedy movies that didn't quite go so good, and then he ended up kind of faltering. It was very obvious that he was not leading man material. Now, whether this is the fault of Lovitz himself for just not having the look or not having that kind of mainstream appeal, or if it was the fault of the screenplays he chose, it's really up to interpretation. After this little kind of experiment with Jon Lovitz, he would return to SNL for multiple guest appearances, during which many jokes about his lack of success during his initial run were made at his expense. The joke was that he kept doing walk-ons for SNL because he couldn't get a job anywhere else, which is really fucking mean. That's not to say Jon Lovitz was a failure. His career did thrive in other ways, he did very well with voice acting, he was always great in a supporting role and stuff, but he wasn't a leading guy. He wasn't an Eddie Murphy or a John Belushi or a Bill Murray. And to go, for people who succeeded after him, he wasn't a Chris Farley or an Adam Sandler. Part of this, I think, is because he didn't quite have the clean-cut, good look that a lot of actors like Bill Murray or Eddie Murphy had, and his performance style wasn't really as accessible as a Chris Farley or a John Belushi. He played a snotty, dry character most of the time. So his general approach to performing just was not friendly with what they would give a leading role to. And if you've seen this episode before, the casting choice here just already works on the highest fucking level. This is basically a fucking meta casting choice. The story of top billing follows Barry, a struggling actor who just can't seem to get a role. One of the causes of his position is that he looks at acting as an art form rather than a job, and he doesn't understand the concept of acting in movies and TV shows is less about your skill in acting and more about your appearance. I mean, he's a kind of heavy-set dude with a bad hairline, and while he is capable of acting, he's constantly told that he's not right for the parts that he's going for.
You don't understand. I need this job.
I know you do. But you're wrong for the part. I need a killer.
Okay, how's this? I don't have any money, I haven't eaten in a week, and I need this fucking job!
Great, it's great. But I need someone physically larger, with a tan.
And his whole argument is that he is truly an actor, and he keeps pushing back against that notion, and that kind of leads him to where he is. Like, I know this is already based on a previously published DC comic, but I can't help but think that Lovett's probably related to the character a little bit. I imagine after he left SNL, like, he had a hard time actually getting parts because his style is different and because he looks a little different. What I do like about Tales from the Crypt in general is just how a name actor would have a part on it. Like, yeah, John Lovitz is the star of the episode, but then there's other name actors here. There's that bitch who played Nurse Ratched, there's Sandra Bernhardt, Kimmy Robertson, and the guy from Tron. You know, the one who isn't Jeff Bridges. Top Billing does a good job of setting John Lovitz up to be like a victim. Like, you kind of feel bad for him because he's having a hard time, he's lost a part, and it seems like everyone's against him because he looks different. And at first, the integrity approach comes off as like a respectable positive until you realize it's completely ego-driven to the point where he's dragged his girlfriend into his poverty. This is reinforced when he runs into one of his old actor buddies named Winton. Winton is successful because he takes commercial jobs. He actually works. He's not in it for the art. And he's making good money doing commercials, which is something that Barry can't fathom. He thinks it's demeaning as an actor to do TV commercials.
When are you going to learn an actor is one who acts, not one who collects unemployment?
Get away!
Maybe some blue contact lenses. You might work for a change.
Yeah, well, I've seen your work, Quentin. Let me tell you, I really love that commercial you did, you know, that little tango you did on top of a disposable douche.
Barry decides to prove a point by going to do a community theater performance of Hamlet. And at this point, it's made very clear that Barry is completely in this for himself. As I mentioned, he dragged his girlfriend into poverty to the point where she basically just decides the only option she has is to cut and run with some other guy. Barry is so kind of engulfed in his own ego that he's literally letting his girlfriend, like, starve because he's trying to get, like, this big part.
You're a loser.
And his whole situation ends up blowing up in his face because of it. He loses his apartment, his girlfriend, and so forth. He doesn't even get the chicken they left for him. And also, here's a callback to my top 12.
We could still be friends.
Tales from the Cock! Now, truly the show-stealing performance of this episode is bar none John Astin as the director. Barry and Winton arrive at this weird rundown back alley performance theater, and John Astin is there portraying a rather eccentric stage director. And there's no way to put this delicately, John Astin is very good at playing a fucking nut.
Oh, kiss it, kiss it, kiss it. But it's plastic. Oh, you won't kiss plastic, will you? Get off of my stage! Do you hear me?
Everything does seem kind of off, but it's shielded by the fact that it's a stage production. Like, people normally associate stage productions with eccentric nutbags. And the whole reason Winton is here is to prove to Barry that acting chops cannot compete with having the look to portray a character, and Winton ends up winning out in the end, as both competed for the lead role, but the director did not even consider Barry and went straight to Winton because he understands the value of having the look.
How can you cast this asshole?
He has the look.
The whole build-up is just Barry becoming more and more unlikable and egotistic, which is a good dynamic because John Lovitz is pretty good at being a sneering prick. On the introduction, you feel bad for him. You kind of want him to succeed, but as the story goes forward and you realize his whole philosophy towards what is supposed to be his job is ego-driven, coupled with the fact that he literally has dragged others down with him, you start to not feel so bad for him, and you're not really rooting for him by the time he's determined to prove that he is a good actor and worthy of a leading role. And being Tales from the Crypt, you know something bad is gonna happen to him. It's expected but pretty funny when he does realize that he just simply cannot compete with Winton because he does not have the look. The fact that even the director, who is a complete eccentric nut, would see that is pretty funny. You might still have a little sympathy for Barry, like his life went to shit, he lost his home and his girlfriend, and now he lost this part, part. Like, if you're on his side for the whole, like, integrity bit, you're probably gonna hang on to it for a little bit and maybe feel sorry for him up until, of course, the final act. Because at that point, he figures, you know, Winton got the part, he's lost, he does not get to win, so he kills his former friend in a fit of rage.
What the hell?
Why? Are you out of your fucking mind?
But in doing so, he kind of dooms himself by missing what Winton finds out was in store for the lead, because it wasn't the lead at all. Like, come on, it's Tales from the Crypt, something funny's gonna happen. And the funny thing is, they find out that all along they weren't competing for the role of Hamlet, they were competing for the role of Yorick. You know, the Skull. That's who they're auditioning for, the Skull. Did you get that? They're gonna be the Skull. The Skull, he's fucking dead.
That's crazy. Biggs, help me.
Certainly, sir. Just slip into this hood.
You're all mad.
And?
And it's then revealed that this old theater is somehow actually just connected to an insane asylum, one in which the patients rose up and killed all the staff and somehow started a community theater production of Hamlet. And of course, Barry finds out all too late what happened during a relatively tense but quick chase scene.
It's showtime!
And of course, you know, Barry finally gets to be the lead. The part at the end where they're acting with his skull and like the director's assistant is legitimately moved to tears by Barry's quote-unquote performance as the Skull just breaks me. This killed me. Like, I didn't realize it the first few times I watched it, but then like I saw it, I'm like, he's like moved to tears. That's fucking great. Top billing in concept is a very standard Tales from the Crypt episode, but it's so fun with the casting and the performances. Like, John Lovitz is great at playing an egotistical scumbag, John Astin is great at being a complete nut, and while the pacing is a bit muddled due to the half-hour runtime, it does still get the point across. I guess the irony here is that it actually did kind of prove that John Lovitz can be a lead in a television production. I mean, a Tales from the Crypt episode is basically a short movie, but at its core, Lovitz does carry the story, and it's kind of just held up with John Astin. The rest of the cast is fine for what they do, but, you know, they're just kind of, they're taking a back seat to the other two main attractions. And the guy who plays Winton is pretty good as, like, that good-looking Hollywood type, so it all kind of balances itself out. The twist itself is pretty easy. Like, you already know something is up when the theater is located in a back alley and literally nobody else is auditioning. This isn't the kind of Tales from the Crypt episode you watch for the twist ending. This is an episode you watch solely for the performance and to see somebody get their comeuppance, regardless of how telegraphed it is. In this case, for top billing, we're here for the journey, not for the destination. Also, I really like the score they have for this. I don't know what it is. It's very different from the rest of the show. Like, each episode does have a different composer. Jay Ferguson did the music for this, and I really do like the score. I don't really know how to describe it. It seems very urban, but like it's different from what you would usually hear at a Tales from the Crypt episode. Jay Ferguson is known for composing parts of the Terminator soundtrack as well as the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 soundtrack, and oh my god, he did the score for Double Dragon. That I didn't even fucking know he did that going into this, so like, that's really funny how Double Dragon somehow has gotten me back into Tales from the Crypt episodes, and now that's two Tales from the Crypt episodes that do have a direct tie to Double Dragon, with The Pit starring Mark Dacascos, and then now this being composed by Jay Ferguson. That's fucking nuts. If I had to give top billing a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna go ahead with a 9 out of 10. It's almost perfect. It needed a little bit more tuning, and it does lack in some regards in terms of what is expected from a Tales from the Crypt episode. But come on, it made my top 12, and even though that top 12 is subject to change after 5 years, this is still one of my personal favorite episodes. Which is funny because, like, unlike some of my favorite episodes that have a really disproportionate rating on IMDb, like where it's ranked relatively low, this one's in the top 20. It's number 20, but it's also one I don't really hear a lot of people talk about. Like, there's a few YouTubers who have spoken about Tales from the Crypt in the past, and they don't, like, that, I don't know, their top 10s, like, just don't really do it for me. Some of them I agree with, but yeah, nobody really talks about this episode. This is a good episode. What are your thoughts on top billing? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, drop me a comment, share me with your friends, and I will see you next time.
You are a loser.